Hola, welcome to Mi Casa. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Ana Lucas, and today we're going to be talking about where I've been and touching on mental and emotional health. For the past 5 years, I have struggled mentally and emotionally in different ways for reasons that from things that I experienced when I was a child, things that happened when I was in high school, just life. But the reason why I'm talking about this now is because I haven't had a ton of traction up until recently on experiencing healing and restoration. So I have sought a therapist, and thankfully I found one that I feel like is very good and easy to talk to and stuff. And in this journey of finding a therapist and going to these appointments, I have learned just how much I have unknowingly been suffering and have been triggered in different situations in different seasons, and have been seeking growth and improvement, but not exactly having the tools or resources to do that healthily. And there's only so much you can do individually. I say that because when you have blind spots that you can't see, that you are unaware of, that other people can see and that other people might be aware of. Now, that's not everyone, but it's probably people that are closer to you or people that you talk to more often. But most of the time, there's only parts of your life and who you are that you can see that you're going to be able to change. The parts you can't see, you're going to need help. And I feel like I've done considerably a good job at working on the things that I could see and I was aware of, and seeking God for that healing, and seeking advice from spiritual leadership, close friends and family, and even self-help books. But again, there's only so much you can do on your own. But then praying about it, I feel like that's where a lot of clarity has come from, a lot of healing has come from. But I've reached a point to where I needed more structure. That's probably the best way to put it. I needed more structure, and I needed tools that I couldn't find on my own. So if you're going through mental and emotional things, you've experienced some sort of trauma, no matter what that means, and it is affecting the way you live your life, there is balance that is needed to understand the difference between a spiritual battle and a experiential battle. Now, what do I mean by that? So a spiritual battle is a battle that takes place in the spiritual realm of things that you can't necessarily see or feel all the time, or are aware of all of the time. We know that the enemy likes to exploit our weaknesses, our wounds, things that he can see that we can't, and he likes to use that against us, to hurt us, to weaken us, to disable us, right? Or also in the spiritual realm, there are spirits that can influence you to feel and think a certain way, okay? Now, we know that the Bible says that we have power and authority over those things, and that we don't have to be tormented by them, and that we just take that authority and cast those things out, right? So in Jesus' name, if there's a spirit of depression and anxiety upon me or anyone watching this, then I cast it out right now in your name, in Jesus' name, amen, right? Then that's how we handle it. We take authority over it, we call it out by name, and we cast it out. And then on the other hand, though, where the experiential battle can be, is it doesn't mean that it's spiritual, okay? Experiential battle is things that you've gone through, things you've experienced, things that affect you, things that you maybe don't understand or don't remember are affecting you, but things are happening that are telling you, like, I'm not sure things are okay. I'm not sure I'm okay. I'm not sure this is necessarily healthy to be doing, or a healthy perspective, or a healthy reaction, and so on. And so, again, we know that the enemy can see those things, are aware of those things, and can exploit those wounds. But it doesn't mean that every time you're struggling mentally and emotionally that it is a spiritual battle, and vice versa. It doesn't mean that every time you're doing it, it's just an experiential battle. We have to aim to be sensitive and aware when either is happening. And the way I have found helpful to do this is by praying, by reading the Bible, and by seeking out leadership and their advice, right? Or professional help. And I actually was advised by my spiritual leadership to seek out professional help, just because of where I am is in need of their training, their knowledge, their understanding, their what they specialize in helping others, in identifying triggers and their wounds, and diagnosing things if necessary, and then giving tools to deal with those things and go from there. And also understanding that there are times, again, where it is spiritual and you do have to seek God, and you do have to seek friends to help pray over you and pray for you and all that, which, in my opinion, that should be happening all the time. But I mean, in the sense of, like, this is a spiritual battle. Can you war with me? Can you battle with me for my soul, my mind? And then another sense is a balance, knowing when, okay, I have done as much as I could. The people around me that I know are able to give me insight and help. They've done what they could, and being aware that you might be at a point to where it's probably best to seek out a therapist or a psychologist. Excuse me, a therapist or a psychologist to help you filter through these things. But also being prayerful about who you go to and what professional you trust in that way. To be honest, it took me and my husband over 2 years to find somebody that we felt was going to meet the needs and that was affordable. Unfortunately, that added more difficulty, but at the same time, I think that it would have been way worse had I gone to the wrong person for those 2 years and potentially experienced more trauma, more dysfunction, and been in a worse place than I was. So please, covered in prayer, ask your friends, ask your leadership, ask in your church if you go to church, or people grown-ups you trust around you. Ask for their advice and their opinion on if they know a professional that could be good for you, that's trusted, that is well-trained and balanced in these things. But then now also you have to be careful, because if there are diagnoses, if there are things that you learn that are difficult, that are hard, we have to be careful not to elevate those things above the good. Okay, I struggle with depression very severely. Because I struggle with that doesn't mean I am depression. It doesn't mean that I'm just a down, sad, unmotivated person, right? I know that when I'm not depressed, I'm very motivated, I'm very creative, I'm very, very social. I have a lot of energy. In the past, I've made the mistake of saying, oh, well, because I'm sad and because I'm unmotivated and because I feel like I don't have energy and because I don't feel like I can be social right now, I'm antisocial, I'm lazy, I don't have discipline. I don't know. The list could go on. But do you kind of see what I'm saying here? Where, like, there has to be a balance. So trying your best not to elevate what you're experiencing over who you are and who you're created to be. It's understanding that they don't change who you are. They only help you understand where you are at and how you deal with certain things like depression or anxiety or stressful events or highly emotional events and so on. So that it is helpful to understand more of your current environment, if that makes sense. A diagnosis allows for a name to be put on what you're struggling with so that it's not mysterious or mystical. In the past few months, especially because I didn't understand what I was experiencing, what I was feeling, I very much so began to question who I am and my qualities that I have, and began to question what I was experiencing. Not sure if it was healthy. I kind of started feeling ostracized a little bit because I'm like, wait, is this okay? Like, is this what other people dealing with this? Which, yes, but I mean, more commonly, is it just because I do need more discipline? I do need more motivation. I do need to be more active. Like, do I just not have self-control? Am I just really selfish? All this stuff. And so it made me question who I am. But now that I have some names for these things that I'm experiencing and feeling and that are resulting in these behaviors that aren't necessarily from natural to me, then I began to realize, oh, okay, so no, it's not healthy, but at least I know what it is, and at least I know because of what it and at least I know what it is so that I can move forward and begin to seek healthy tools, seek healing in the specific area, right? In these specific experiences that I'm having, and go from there. Whereas before it was just like, it felt like I was inviting things I couldn't identify, things that it just all seemed mysterious, right? It felt like I was a leaf blowing in the wind, never going to land, never knowing which direction I was going or will be going or where I'd end up, and so on. It just felt like this unknown, vast thing, and that's not comforting, right? That's not something that feels good. And so when I started learning of these names, these things that I'm experiencing, it honestly gave me way more peace, because then I was like, so I'm not crazy. So I'm not crazy. I'm not making these things up. I'm not. It just made me realize that I know everything's gonna be okay. It's gonna end up being okay. And I felt more hope, more reassurance because of that. So along with the diagnoses and understanding that they aren't changing who you are, they aren't your identity, is also understanding that they can and will be healed. I can't tell you how long it's going to be. I can't tell you it's going to be easy. And I can't tell you that it's not going to reoccur in some form. What I can tell you is that over time, you will experience more freedom over those things. You will experience healing and restoration in those things. And over time, there's probably going to be less and less times that you're going to be battling with it, and the battles are probably going to get easier and easier. In the past, when things have come up again that I thought I've already healed or addressed, I would get frustrated and I would think, oh God, I'm backtracking. What am I doing? Why? How did this happen? I must not have been focusing hard enough. I must not have been praying enough. I must not have been doing the things I need to do enough. And really, it was none of those things. Sure, can we all grow in those areas? Yes, absolutely. But really, it was just, oh, this specific thing was deeper than I thought. So at the time where I was at before, I had dealt with it that deep. Okay, well now this situation went a little deeper, and it felt sensitive. It felt like, whoa, what's that? What's happening there? And it's like, oh, it's because the healing hasn't gone that deep. Have you ever gotten a cut on yourself and it was like, it hurt, it was pretty deep, and then you clean it up, put a band-aid on it, give it some time, and then you take the band-aid off and the surface seems pretty healed, but then you bump it on something and it hurts really bad and you're like, oh my gosh, that was excruciating. It was the sharpest pain ever. But then you look and it's still like healed on the surface, but because the cut went so deep, underneath still hasn't healed completely. So you feel that pain because something hit you or touched you, and the perfect way, the precise way to hit that wound. And even though it looks healed on the surface into a certain depth, deeper than that, it's still healing. And so understand that as you go, there's layers and layers and layers and layers, like an onion, right? It's an onion because it has layers, right? And so understanding that healing is the same way. It's going to go layer by layer by layer. And in the past, I wrestled with being discouraged with that because I kept thinking, I'm backtracking. When really I was not. I was still moving forward. I just didn't realize that that wound was getting hit deeper than it was before. And so now it's just, okay, now I just get to experience healing on a deeper level, a more precise level, and being encouraged in that. Being encouraged that this is just another step in the process. This is just another way to improve. This is another way to heal, another way to grow, another way to understand this better. In which a lot of times, a lot of understanding comes from it for me, because then I'm like, oh, before I thought, I'm not sure how to explain it, but it could just be like, before I thought I was just lonely. Let's use loneliness since we've been talking about this a lot. Before I thought I was lonely, then I realized like, oh, I'm not alone. I have Jesus. Oh, I feel so much better. And then it's like, oh wait, but I still feel alone because I don't have, let's just say for example, that I don't have friends to hang out with. I don't have people to talk to. So I feel lonely. And then realizing like, oh wait, I'm not alone because I have Jesus and there's relationships and people around me that I can build. Okay, let me focus on those. Oh wait, well, they're not texting me. They don't want to hang out with me. They don't want to do this. They don't want to do that. They're not putting in the effort I'm putting in. Oh wait, I just realized I'm actually being selfish. I'm actually expecting and assuming that they're going to serve me and give me what I want and need. Oh, well, maybe I should, instead of expecting to receive something from this, maybe I should go and serve them. Maybe I should not reach out to them and expect something back, but actually just reach out to them because I genuinely care and love them. Maybe I should just see what's up with them because I miss them, you know? And then I realized, whoa, okay, now I'm really not alone because I have Jesus. Now I'm really not alone because there's people around me that I wouldn't have thought of before. And now I don't feel alone either because I'm not focused on myself. I'm focused on the people around me that I love and care about. And I'm looking to serve them and be with them as much as I possibly can. Cool. So if you can kind of see the layers in that example, where each layer, I learned something new and realized something new and grew more and healed more. I want to share something that I just felt like God dealt with me about wounds and having healing in mental and emotional health. So at this service, this message was being shared that there is a spiritual aspect to mental health. And there's an aspect of it that requires discipline. Then on the other hand, there was a aspect of coming from things you've experienced and things that need healing and attention. It's kind of like what I addressed earlier in this video, but it was shared differently and in a way that I would not be able to reiterate just because of the intricacy of it all, but it was really well told. I felt like God was dealing with me and I was praying because I was like, God, I don't understand. Help me understand this. Help me to understand there's balance to be had. Help me, if there's areas in me that still need to be healed or touched, let me know. Like, please, I wanna bring those to you and trust you with them. And I felt like he just kept telling me, like, hey, you already have authority over this. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, you already have authority over depression, anxiety, mental health, all this stuff that you've been experiencing. You have authority over it. And I was like, okay. And he was like, yeah, a power and authority. You need to be praying for others, laying hands on others, helping others with these experiences because of that power and authority. And I was like, okay. Well, I was like, but God, I don't understand. How do I have power and authority right now if I'm not even through it? If I am not completely healed, if I'm not completely whole and healthy, which we know that complete wholeness and perfection and complete healthiness, complete health, there we go, is something that is not going to be tangible in its 100% fullness on this earth, right? We know that in the next life, that then we'll be made whole and perfect and healthy. So I'm like, God, what do you mean now? I'm in the midst of these things right now. And I felt like he just said, well, one, I felt like I was reminded that the process is never over, right? The process of healing and seeking health and wholeness is never over. It only gets better, but never perfected on this earth. And so, secondly, I felt like he said, what does my word say about victory? And I was like, oh, well, it says that we have victory in you. And he said, yes, you have victory in me. I already spoke of victory in every battle and every trial you'll go through and have gone through. Because of that, you have victory over these things that you are wrestling with, things that hurt, this depression, this anxiety, this mental and emotional health struggles. You already have the victory over it. Even though you're in the midst, I have given you power and authority because I have promised you victory. And so because of that, you are able to impact people now for these things. And that just completely impacts me, because all the time I'm thinking, oh, well, I can't do this yet because I'm not whole. I can't do this yet because I actually haven't mastered or overcame depression or anxiety. I can't do this because I'm a hypocrite because I'm struggling. No, because I'm struggling, that doesn't make me a hypocrite just because I'm struggling. Everyone struggles. What would make me a hypocrite is if I'm saying seek healing, seek health, and then I'm not doing it. If I were saying one thing and not following through with that, with action in my personal and private life, then that would be different. But because I feel every day striving for that wholeness, that healing, then, I'm not a hypocrite. I'm not. And then it's like, why wouldn't I be able to help people now? It's a process, right? We're all in different places on the line, going towards the finish line. And maybe some of you are further along than I am. That's awesome. That's wonderful. I cannot wait to be where you're at. And I'm proud of you. And I'm thankful for you. But then some of you might not be where I am. And that's not a bad thing. Listen, trust me. It's not embarrassing. It's not anything to have shame over, and not anything to feel guilty of. It's okay. Be encouraged that you are in the process and that you are seeking health and wholeness, and that in the process that will be done, that will be attained. And it's okay. None of us are better or worse for being further along or not. We all are winning as long as we're focused on healing and restoration and wholeness, right?